A lot of people do ask the question of what is next for Boris Johnson. After all, the Privilege Committee set to, well, investigate some of, shall we say, his wrongdoings, certainly during Partygate, is very much on the cards that this could spell the end of Boris Johnson's, certainly his career, maybe in Parliament for the time being. But what could Boris Johnson be up to next? Well, just a couple of months ago, we went through what Boris Johnson might even indeed do. Because remember, there are now a lot of, well, not only new, shall we say, brand new-ish right-wing, TV shows, maybe even a spot on GB News, maybe even on radio, on Talk TV. And we talked about the fact that Boris Johnson may even become sort of the UK's version of Rush Limbaugh. I wouldn't be surprised if he were to do that, or he were to gain the backing of some sort of, big conservative in the UK and even set up his own podcast. It's potentially an option, Boris Johnson, or at least one option we may see him go down. And even then, there's some interesting rumors coming out today that we have heard that Boris Johnson may have even abandoned the PM race because apparently it may have risked over £10 million in potential earnings, some of his sources are now saying. And this has a lot of very similar parallels where it was believed back in the days when Trump first stood that it was all just a big publicity stunt. But Trump, shall we say, grew to love the limelight and generally thought that actually he would, like to run to try and sort of raise his profile. And it seems to me that from what we're hearing from these sources, if they are true, that Boris Johnson may have dropped out of the Conservative race because people in the entertainment industry went, well, you've run once, but if you run again, it may actually damage your earnings and potential brand possibility. Like I say, the entertainment industry is a bizarre and strange world sometimes. We're going to go into these sources because this is quite interesting and a potential reason of, well, why Boris Johnson might have actually dropped out, not just because of lack of support, but, well, it threatened his potential earnings. So, as always, before we go diving into this, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. And of course, down below, there is the YouTube thank you button. And there is the YouTube Pony Club down below as well that you can join as well. So, over to this with a story breaking in The Guardian this morning of Boris Johnson quit the PM race over risk to £10 million worth of earnings, sources say. So, Boris Johnson would have forfeited earnings in at least the £10 million a year from speeches and sales of his memoirs if he had fought a leadership battle against Rishi Sunak and lost, according to the information sources in the entertainment industry, who believe the financial considerations played a part in his decision to pull out. Since his resignation in July, Johnson is known to have been in talks with entertainment and talent agencies, including Endeavour, run by US businessman Ariel Manuel, and Harry Walker Agency, the HW, one of its subsidiaries. And HWA's clients include Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and even Serena Williams. So Johnson's earning potential is said to be, by some of those that has been in talks with before Liz Truss's resignation, to have been put around about £20 million a year. Most Tories, including Johnson supporters, believe the main reason behind his withdrawal from the contest to replace Truss just a fortnight ago was that he was being told that he risked destroying the Tory party and his reputation with it. However, some of his allies were surprised and felt let down by his decision, saying that there were a lot of people upset with Boris, one senior Tory figure said. They demanded him back publicly, only to see him pull out at the last minute. They didn't understand why. The confusion even deepened on Friday when Sir Graham Bradley, chair of the 1922 committee of the Conservative backbenchers, made it clear that Johnson had definitely received enough nominations and the backing of at least 100 MPs to proceed to the final indicative vote of the MPs and then a ballot of the 170,000 or so party members who would have had the final say. At the time, some even doubted he had close to 100. So as you can see, the plot thickens because when this initially happened, I'd been saying for a while, I thought it was just all bluff and bluster, that he really didn't have that 100 support of those MPs. But it seems now that as time has moved on, Johnson may have indeed actually had that support and may have been willing to go, but unable, shall we say, maybe even to think that he could actually win against Rishi Sunak. We don't really know, of course, in all of this, but maybe it is down to his earnings. Maybe it really is down to the earnings. But back to it. The Observer has been told that people associated with Emmanuel made it clear to Johnson that had he lost against Sunak, his appeal to global audiences and therefore a good deal of his earning power would disappear. It is understood that the talent industry believed his value would have dropped by at least half. Last night, a spokesperson for Johnson said that financial reasons played no part whatsoever in his decisions were, quote, totally irrelevant. The spokesperson repeated that the former Prime Minister said in a statement when he withdrew. In it, Johnson said that he had, quote, sadly come to the conclusion that this, taking the fight to the membership, would simply not be the right thing to do. You can't govern effectively unless you have a united party in Parliament. The implication was that even if he had won the country, the party would be split because more MPs would almost certainly have backed Sunak in the indicative vote. Another senior Tory said, "What I think worried Boris was the most was that the rest of his life he would have been awful with people, including those friends who told him not to stand, saying he destroyed the party and lost us the next election. That is not to say the financial issues might not have played a part in his mind too." Meanwhile, Matt Hancock, because this is also news, former health secretary, was told yesterday that he could stand to earn at least around £1 million a year having signed up for I'm a Celebrity. Showbiz guru Jonathan Schalt, I think the CEO of the Intertalent Rights Group, told GB News, saying, "I suspect the reasons are quite simple. He needed to make a ton of money. Now he's divorced from a lady, he's got children, he doesn't get as much money as a backbench MP, yet his outgoings will be significant, if not more, so he needs a lot of money. Also, his career is going nowhere in the Conservative Party. Rishi Sunak quite clearly isn't going to give him a big job, so his career as an MP is coming to an end, and I'm a Celebrity provides an opportunity to get on a new journey." Hancock is repeatedly being paid a fee of about £400,000 to take part in the ITV reality show. Schacht said that Hancock had an earning potential of at least £1 million a year on average if his stint in the jungle went well. You could get £1 million to £1.5 million by next year, but equally that could drop to at least 750,000. But some people like Matt can probably make at least around £1 million a year, quite often on the weekends, for example. He could probably do at least 3 or 4 appearances for about £10,000 to £15,000 a minimum each, if not up to 60 to 70. So, yeah, that could have been yet another reason potentially why Johnson may not have decided to run. As always, I don't know whether we will ever know sort of the full reason, but I think the reasons are laid out very, very clear right there. I think Johnson would have known that had he run, he would have not been able to unite the party. I think the party would have been ever more divided. I think it's right in the comments that former friends had been telling him, if you stand again, you will destroy the Tory party. And let's face it, even if, let's say, this had gone to a vote to the membership, it's very likely the membership would have voted for Boris, not Sunak. And then again, you would have had all these MPs who wanted Rishi Sunak, but instead got Boris. They would have not have been very, very happy. And of course, you've got the coronavirus inquiry, you've got the privileges committee going after Johnson as well. So there would have been a lot of mess for Boris, a lot of mess. So like I say, we will never know sort of the true reasons, but I think we've gained a bit of more of an insight as to why. And of course, it really just come down to the money that Johnson can make. But we'll always see. I think his future is certainly on maybe a TV, radio podcast in the future. I would not be surprised if he does get a show at some point on one of these sort of right-wing networks. It would not shock me at all. But I think that's something that he himself would probably like and enjoy. Throwing thunderbolts at the party from outside it is something I think Johnson would very much deeply enjoy, and he has done so in the past from his when he was with his Telegraph column. So that's very, very likely, certainly in the future, on Boris Johnson's cards. But as always, like I say, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a foundation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.